Chris, with the deadline a week away, how do you guys kind of look at it and approach this next week?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously teams had a really good year so far. We got a couple months here to go where we need to continue improving our game and getting to the next level. Obviously when the playoffs start, everything ramps up and we got to make sure we're ready to do that. I think it's going to be a balance of, are there ways to improve our team versus risking over tinkering with what's been a pretty good group so far this year. So we'll kind of evaluate all the options and weigh it against what we currently have and go from there.
What do you? There's a flurry of trades right before the Four Nations break and everything, but what do you expect next week in terms of activity leading up to the deadline around the league?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not totally sure. It feels like there's, just from the calls, there's less teams that have defined I'm a seller. I think there's some teams this year that are kind of in that 4-point range of the playoffs that maybe have been sellers for the last couple of years and say, you know what, we're just going to run with it here and see what we can do. And if we miss, we miss. But I want to give the guys a chance to make it. So it could be, a situation with just less people moving because of that. Or maybe it's a situation where there's more kind of like hockey type deals, players with term getting traded. I'm really not exactly sure what to expect. But it does feel like there's kind of less teams that have come out and said, hey, we're open for business.
Chris, with Ryan Leonard presumably en route after his season's over, and Sonny Milano getting into a normal jersey, looks like he's coming along. Does that alter your plans or factor into what you might do?
Sonny will factor. I mean, we'll have to talk with Sonny and see where he is and see how he's feeling and try to figure out his timeline. I mean, I think the move to a non-contact jersey was not necessarily meaning he's imminent to return. And then Ryan, I think, is a little bit, we have to hold separate. Obviously he decided to go back to college this year. He's accomplished a lot of great things this year, like a lot of our prospects have this year. So I think we're going to have to approach the deadline, with him kind of holding him separate. And then once his season's done, we'll talk with his camp and see if he's ready to come out at that time.
Just kind of looking at your roster right now, obviously playing great, a lot of depth. Is there any one position where you go, he's a little more there maybe?
No, not really. I mean, I think everybody's filling in the role pretty well. I think in general, for the playoffs, you could always use more D, 10 to 12 D in your organization. We're at 11 right now, so not in a bad spot. I think our forward group up here has been really good, and we've got guys down in Hershey that have shown this year that they're capable to come in and play. For me, I think it's more about, we're in February here and we're in a great spot, but it's February. And so we want to make sure we're continuing to improve our game in March and April. And then, we all watch the Four Nations, right? Like, that's playoff hockey, and that's what we got to be expecting come game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So to me, that's the challenge to our team is making sure their mindset is ready for that next level of play.
As good as you guys are this year, I have confidence that you are still the future. And there have been past years when this team's been in this position, and you trade a first-round pick for a rental guy to try to play over the top of you. What are your thoughts, I guess, on something like that? Are you protecting your first-round picks? How would you look at it?
No, I think we have to be open to anything. I think in the last couple of years we put more of a priority onto if you can get a younger player or a player with term. I think in general in the trade deadline over the last few years, you don't see first round picks moving as much. It seems to be more second round picks, but yeah, we're open to do whatever if it's going to improve the team, but we're not going to do deals for the sake of making deals.
Are you surprised at all just how successful you guys have been this year? Almost near the top of the standings in points with all that. 7 new guys. Is it surprising at all that you guys are sitting where you are?
Not surprising. It's we thought we did a lot of things to improve our team in this offseason. And, if anything, I think it was just really, you have a hope and an expectation for how new players will come in and mesh with the group. And I think in each case, each new player came in and exceeded our expectations. And for me, that's a few things. That's, the players coming in, doing a really good job of playing to the best of their abilities. And that's our leadership group. That's guys like Alex, John, Tom, Nick Dowd, Stromer. bringing these guys in, making them feel comfortable, helping them get assimilated into the room, because it's not easy, that many new guys coming in. And then that's our coaching staff, like getting everybody on the same page early. And I think you could feel it right in the beginning of training camp that this group was kind of already meshing together pretty well. And so, yeah, if you would have asked me, are we going to be in this spot at this point in the season, I would have said, that'd be the high end of what we're hoping to do, but not surprised by it. I think it's the guys have really shown that they're capable of this.
You touched on not wanting to tinker too much with a group that's been so successful. How much does that chemistry piece factor into the decisions you make this time of year?
Well, chemistry factors into our decisions in every decision. I mean, we spend probably more time talking when we're talking about signing a guy or trading for a guy about where do they fit, who do they play with, what kind of special teams role do they have, what are they like in the room, what do they like off the ice. So that's kind of always a thing we're concerned with. So just like any point in the year, it's an important factor now.
Obviously, Ovechkin's 12 goals away from the record now. Does that change your guys' approach at all? What have you seen from him this year?
I mean, unbelievable. Like, I think sitting with all of you guys at the beginning of the year, somebody asked me if I thought he could do it this year, and it's like, I don't know. Hopefully he's close by the end. But if you would have told me we'd be sitting here now, he's 12 goals away, and he missed 16 games, like, it's just, again, like, he continues to defy all expectations. But honestly, for me, the thing that's been really cool to see with Alex this year is, he gets the questions here, but we go on the road, there's a huge group of media waiting for him. We go to Canada, there's even a bigger group of media, and they all want to talk about the chase and the goals. And he never wants to talk about it. He'll answer the question quick, but then he wants to talk about the team and winning the Stanley Cup. And that's what he cares about. And that's not an act. Like, that's what he wants to win the Stanley Cup. And that's really all he's focused on right now, which I think is really cool. And which is why we're at 12 goals away right now. And I think nationally people are just starting to kind of like wake up to it a little bit here outside of hockey. So I think it's a testament to him as a leader and as a competitor, and which is why he's where he is now in this chase.
Your prospect pool, at least in the eyes of the media, has rocketed up the rankings. I mean, when you have a group like you have now, does that free you up to maybe move a pick or two? Because now you've got Leonard and Crystal and Protus and Hudson.
Yeah, I mean, we're never shy to move picks. I mean, I think you can look at picks two ways, and we've used them in both ways. One, they're currency for transactions, and second, they're a way to stock your shelves. And I think we have a good amount of picks over the next three drafts that if we wanted to use them to move to transact, we can. It's timing too, right? Like picks now versus picks in the summer have different value. Picks get close when you get close to draft. Picks have a lot more value, so we just want to make sure we're prudent in how we use them. But yeah, I mean, I think the prospect pool, does that impact our decision to move picks? I mean, not really. You always want to keep building prospects because they're either going to be playing for you or they're another thing you can use to help make your team better. So, but yeah, I think the most fun thing for me this year with our prospects was when you see a bunch of our guys playing in the World Juniors in Canada, and all of them are getting booed off the ice. That's a good sign usually. So that was fun to watch.
Where do things stand as far as conversations with Lindgren and Chicken and their camps?
Yeah, I'm not going to really get into it other than that we've been really happy with all our guys on expiring deals this year, and we've talked to all their representatives, and we're kind of at various stages with all of them, and we'll keep working here. But, no real immediate deadline on any of them, so we can make sure we take our time and do it right.
How has it been to have a goaltending tandem where you can kind of alternate between both and get still a consistent performance from both of them, especially down the stretches you guys approach playoffs here?
Yeah, it's been huge. I mean, I think the trick with goaltending in this league is playing someone that can help get you a win and not burning him out, so that by game 82 you've got a guy that's had a heavy workload and is going into the playoffs kind of trying to hold his body together. And I think having two really strong goaltenders has given us the ability to, one, win hockey games, and two, we have two guys that'll hopefully be really fresh going into the playoffs that we can continue to use to help us win games.
Sort of another Ovechkin two-parter. What have you seen in terms of kind of his variety of offense this year? So it looks like he's shooting from different places on the ice and sort of evolved that throughout his career. And what is sort of being in this sort of prime and having this good team at 39 do to kind of affect your deadline plans?
I think the thing with Alex is he can, from places where most people aren't in a scoring position, he's in a scoring position, and he has the ability to get shots off that it's a lot of mere mortals can't shoot. And it was like his last goal in the last game. I mean, that was a really, really hard shot to execute. So I don't know if it's more moving to different spots to get his shots, or it's just like when he sees some net and the puck's on a stick, he takes the opportunity. I think he's done more, going into the middle of the ice and going to the front of the net this year than maybe in the years past. And that part of that too is the guys he's playing with. They do a good job of getting him pucks there. And then I think the second part you're asking about.
Just how having this good a team with Alex at 39 kind of affects your plans ahead of the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that really affects our plans. I mean, the better the team is around Alex, the better it is for Alex, because it just gets harder for other teams to match his line, other lines. I mean, they have to spread out, who's defending against what lines. So for all our offensive players, that allows them to have a little more space. Spencer does a really good job getting the matchups he wants, and getting guys into opportunities to try to score. So, just like this summer, I think at the deadline, it would be the same thing. We're just trying to make it harder for teams to play against us.
Given that way back at the beginning of the season when you guys put TJ on LTIR, it seemed like he said he was going to try to make a return. Is it fair to say at this point, given that he's not been skating, that he's out for the year?
Again, can't really comment on that other than, he continues to work to get his body into a good place.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Just kind of want to follow up a little bit, just ask it a little differently with Alex. Do you feel an urgency when he only has a limited window here to try to take advantage of that?
I mean, I think we have a really good hockey team. I think you look at trade deadline deals, not just our team, any team in the league, when they make a big splash or a small addition, and do they end up moving the needle a lot on teams' chances to win the Stanley Cup? Like, it's debatable. So I think you need to make smart moves for your hockey club, and I think I want Alex to win a Stanley Cup. I want everybody in this team to win a Stanley Cup. It's like the first thing I thought of when we won the Stanley Cup in 2018 is like, man, I wish like a lot of other people could feel what I'm feeling right now. It's like the best feeling ever. So I think all our decisions are dictated on trying to get this team into a point to win a Stanley Cup. So no, I don't think it adds urgency. I think that urgency's always been there, and you just have to make smart moves to get your team into a good spot.
Did you and Mac and just the organization in general learn something from what you did at 2016, the deadline, what you did at 2017, the deadline, and what you did at 2018, which was a lot less, or at least not as splashy?
Yeah, I mean, I go back I started with this team in 2009, I think, and I've been around for every deadline since then. So I've gone back and reflected on all the deadlines and looked at the different deals we've done, and yeah, there's definitely you learn a lot from looking back and how things played out, and but every deadline's different too. Like I think there's times when you go and you trade a first round pick for a piece that you think you need, and there's other times you don't, and there's some times when you don't do anything, and you just have to do what you think's best for your team.
How much do you pay attention, Chris, to what the teams around you are doing? I mean, Carolina made their move, the Rangers made their move. On deadline day, everyone's going to make a move. I mean, are you kind of going, oh, they got better, we might need to do something here?
Yeah, I think you have to be careful with that. Again, doing a deal for the sake of doing a deal is not necessarily the right strategy. And I agree, it's hard to filter it out when you're sitting there and you've got Sports Center on and they're announcing deal after deal and you just feel like you're not doing anything. But like I said, I went back and I looked at years kind of when George was here and we didn't do anything, and it probably was the right call at the time. So yeah, it's just we'll constantly weigh what's out there and what the prices are and if it's going to help our team or not.
So you're either going big or not doing anything, or
you want me to tell you what we're doing, Kareem? Yeah, I think anything's on the table. Anything's on the table. Yeah.
You mentioned Spencer Carbury. Just what have you? He's probably going to be coach of the year. What has impressed you most about his coaching this year, and even going back to last year?
Yeah, well, and obviously I go back even further with Carbs, back to when he was in South Carolina. And, I think what's impressed me this year is his growth. I think he could have easily said, hey, last year, rookie coach, I took a team that had a bad goal differential and we made the playoffs, and I've got this thing figured out. But he came in and he looked for ways to improve in his own, approach, and on bench, off bench, how can I get better? How can I improve? And and I see areas where he's definitely different than how he was last year. I'm always impressed by his communication skills. I mean, he's constantly talking to players. I think he's more open-minded than a lot of coaches as far as some of the quirks of certain players, and willing to work with them, which is why I think when you see a bunch of new guys come in here and play really well, that's a big part of it. And I think he's built a really good staff that gets along really well, that works really hard, that complement each other well. I think it's encouraging to see his continued growth, because he's still a young coach in this league, and if he continues to grow, he could be a really, really good coach in this league for a long time.